Good morning. Today is the 26th of July, 2019, and I am here in the West Point Center for Oral History with James Lual Atak, who was a lost boy and a child soldier in the Sudanese Civil War circa 1987. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Welcome to West Point.
Thank you, sir.
Could you please spell your name for the transcriber?
Yes, as you said, my name is James Lual Atak, and actually from South Sudan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. When were you born?
Well, actually, it is not actually known, but when we were born, we are not born in the hospital, but at least people talk like history, like your mom or your dad or your uncle could tell you it was a certain time of certain things happen.
Okay.
And that's the time you were born.
So how do they describe when you were born?
Yeah, well, they said 1978.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I picked the date by myself and the month.
Okay.
So, and it's 18 August 1978.
Okay. Well, you got a birthday coming up.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Where were you born?
I was born in a small town called Lual.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And what did your parents do?
Well, my parent, especially my dad, was a local businessman those days, and my mom, actually, she was a housewife. They have never gone to school, and actually they were having the local farm. They were farming, and that's what they do for their living.
What did they farm?
The local farmings they were doing is like sorghum, maize, and sweet potatoes. Okay. Yes, and some other like okra, onion, all those kind of stuff.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your life like as a young boy before the Civil War? What was it like for you growing up in your village?
Well, my life when I was small in the village, I used to play under trees with the kids. I didn't know anything, and I didn't go to school from the time I was very little guy, and that's what we used to do. We go in the bush and hunting for the small animals and catching the birds, make the kind of the nets, catching the birds and fishing around, and yes, and I follow the big boys. Okay. Yes.
So when you were hunting and fishing, would you eat that?
Yes.
As well?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
and then
because I was very little guy, I follow what the big boys say to do.
Sure.
And or when they caught up with their stuff, I carry their stuff for them. So and I follow them wherever they want to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Any games that you all played?
No, yeah, we were playing the local games, local dramas, and a bit of dancing around in our village.
Okay.
As boys, and moving as a group with some dogs and go around.
Okay. Yeah. And your father was a local businessman?
Yes, he was a local businessman. My dad had eight wives. The polygamy is very high in my community. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so you probably had a lot of half brothers and sisters and all that? Okay, wonderful.
There are quite a number.
All right. Now, you were involved in the Sudanese Civil War, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me the circumstances surrounding that war?
Yeah, well, it happened in so many years ago when our village was attacked by the Sudan government military. And, I was very little boy, less than 9 years old, something like that. And our village was raided by the military. And when they are fighting, they come with the horses, donkeys, and carrying different kind of arms. I didn't know the type of arm they were carrying because I was small, and I was hearing the shooting, and I was seeing the bomb droppings, and they were burning down their houses. And actually, what happened? We ran randomly, and I lost my parent. And most of the boys, actually, and children, girls and boys, lost the parent because they were attacked in early morning, and people start running randomly. And from that time, actually, we were thousands of us, very many thousand, and boys and girls, so many thousand of them. And as we were moving, we start moving in the bush. So the elders and the SPLA, the liberation movement, try to recognize and try to arrange to bring the children who lost their parent together.
Okay.
Yes, to settle them together.
So your parents were killed?
Yes, part of my parents were killed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were rounded up?
Yes.
By the SPLA?
By the SPLA, putting us together, bringing us together under control.
Okay, and what does SPLA stand for?
The SPLA is Sudan People Liberation Movement.
Okay.
Yes. And there's SPLA also as an army, Sudan People Liberation Army.
Okay. And so they gathered you, and you said there were about 1,000 children?
No, many thousand.
Oh,
of
many
children.
thousand. Okay.
Yes, many thousand of children.
Okay.
Yes.
And so did they take you away from your village right away?
Yeah, well, what happened, because we did not know where we were going, and we did not know what to do. And we did not even trace back to go home, and because we do not have the relative close with us who are responsible. So they took responsibility as the SPLA and the SPLM, as the movement,
right,
actually struggling. And that time when we were running even with the army of the SPLA, because they were having the weapon and they did not have enough ammunition, what I had. And when they put us together, they say, these children, we could not just let them move randomly. They will get in a lot of trouble. So they mobilized us and they brought us in one place, and then they start moving with us towards a certain direction. That direction I did not even know we were going to Ethiopia. Okay. So, and after 3 months walk, day and night,
wow,
day and night, there's no food, there's no good water, there's no medication, there's no any other mean of transport. Is walking day and night, morning to sunset, and we rest a little bit in the evening, and we walk again from the evening to morning. And we were eating any kind of the leaf of the trees we finding aside of the road.
Okay.
And so many wild animals beside us. They take out some children also from the movement we were leading. And what happened? It happened. My cousins appeared to be one of the group, and my cousin was bigger boy than me, and then he started carrying me.
Okay.
Yes. So, and sometime when he's tired of carrying me, he pushed me, he put me down, and he caned me a little bit for me to follow the right road.
Okay.
You know, not because we were very little. Some they are tired of walking, and you know they were and they're sleepy, and they want to sit aside of the road, and to make sure that they are not walking and following the road. And then what happened when the big group move, and then you remain in the bush alone, you meet up with a wild animal and you are dead.
Okay.
So or you remain behind saying that you want to have rest as a small child, and then later on you lost the direction and you get lost in the bush and you die. So many people died actually on the way, our way to Ethiopia. That's what happened.
Wow. So 3 months of walking day and night.
Yes.
Wild animals eating some of the children. Did the soldiers you were moving with, did they take care of you, or were they brutal to you, or what happened if kids wanted to sit down? Did they just leave them?
Yeah, well, they did not want to do that. They tried the best they could do, because they were given the order from above, which I did not know. But lastly, I heard that they were given order to arrange all these children and bring them to Ethiopia safely. And actually, they were also having a stick, and they have to take responsibility in their own hand, because if they don't want to take the hard responsibility, many children will remain in the bushes, and they will die, and they will be eaten by the animals. So they start caning some of us to make sure they walk in the right tracks. And from they took good care of us on way to Ethiopia actually. And from the time we arrived in Ethiopia, we were put in the refugee camp. And from the refugee camps, we were located in our own center as a child soldier, as a children. We didn't know the word called the child soldier, the lost boys.
Right.
We were located in different center for us to build our own local grass houses and go to school. But actually, the SPLA could many of them, they were not educated, and few were educated. Actually, they were volunteering to teach us as our teachers, and also they took responsibility to show us what to do in our life. And from that time, you could not be allowed to go to school if you have not gone to the military training. It doesn't matter how small you are, you have to go to the military training.
Okay.
It went to the military training, even those who are less than 10 years old, they were in the military training.
Okay.
And that's what happened in Ethiopia.
Now, when you were moving, were you with a group of boys that you knew from your village?
I didn't know anyone.
You didn't know, so you were completely separated.
Yes, we are completely separated,
Wow.
except my cousin,
Thank
my
God.
elder cousin,
Yeah.
who was actually moving around, and he found me.
So did
And
he,
I was crying. Most of the time I was crying. And he identified me, and he started taking care of me.
so that was probably very fortunate for you that your cousin was there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How much older was he?
I could remember he was about 15.
Okay.
He was about 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he took you under his wing and
Yes.
cared for you.
Yes.
Okay. And now, what were you told? Were you told you were doing something, or what did they tell you? Why you were going to Ethiopia? What you were going to do when you got there?
Yeah, well, they said because, the disaster happened and the Sudan government actually was clearing everyone out from the villages. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we didn't know where to live. So they took responsibility to take care of us. But again, the problem is that the Sudan government, in the history of the South Sudanese and Sudanese themselves, is that we are black African Christian people. And Sudan is a Muslim Arab part of it, majority, and is ruled by Islamic government. And by that time, actually, we are not allowed to worship, to have a freedom of worship. We are not allowed to have the freedom of whatever we want in our area. Mm-hmm. And we did not know as a little children. But the big guys, the leaders of the South Sudanese decide to have the civil war against the Sudan government. And by that time, because the South Sudan is the richest part of the Sudan, with a lot of oil and a lot of trees and water and so on. So there has never been any kind of development in South Sudan. There's never kind of been of the road, the tarmac road, mm-hmm. No education, no electricity, no water, no health facilities, and so many more. And but what the government of Sudan was trying to do is to clear the black African Sudanese out from the land and take the land. That's why they did not even care. They were taking the children as a child slave, and that's where in my village, that's where a lot of slavery happened in Sudan than any other places in South Sudan.
Okay, so they would come in and take you to be slaves.
Yes.
In the northern part of the country?
The northern part of the country. Okay. And again, they take the small children, use them for sex, especially the girls and the women, and they kill everyone they find on the side of the road. Yeah. So, and they burn down their houses. They take the cattle, the cows, the people who are living on as for their living. Mm-hmm. They take the cows, takes the cattle and every kind of livestock, animal they could find there, and it was a mess. So we found ourselves that what the South Sudanese were doing as a SPLA was right, and when we went to Ethiopia, we got in trouble again. After a few years, the Ethiopia civil war turned up, and we had to run back again to South Sudan.
Okay.
And when we came back, I was a very small guy. Still, so the UNHCR was still taking responsibility of the small boys, and the SPLA, it's not because all of them were bad, but the top guys, especially Dr. John Garang, was saying that we should not mess the Sudan we want to be by caring for the small children future. But the junior generals, they are trying so much to take the small boys to the war so that they can be given recommendation, they can be promoted. Because the small children, boys, they are the one who could fight to death. They don't know how to surrender, they don't know how to run, to pull out, and they fight to death. So it became a very good war for them to be for us, small children, to fight the war on behalf of their promotion.
Okay.
And then when we came to South Sudan again, when we were displaced by the Ethiopia war, you know what happened? The UNHCR trying to move the children as a refugees to Kenya side as a refugee center, Kakuma refugee camp. And SPLA and with all those others, junior officers, they are trying to pick out the small boys and recruit them in the army. And I fell one of the victims. And I was snatched to the army. And I was put in the training. And I was actually sent to the war. I was carrying the gun like baby. I did not know why am I in the war. And I was fighting, you know. So I cry. And then my friend tell me, if you're a coward, then you better to escape. I said, I don't know where to go, you know. So from that time, actually, we were around Juba fighting the enemy, the main enemy, because we were told the reason we are fighting, finally, when I got into the army, that because of the Sudan government, what they have done is this, and denying the right of the people for South Sudanese. And the first agreement in 1972 was signed, and they did not honor it. They did not agree. They said it is not a Bible or a Quran. It can be changed overnight, because they revised it back. In 1972, it was said the South Sudanese will govern themselves under the government of Sudan, and they have the right of their development in their own region. But it was not accepted by the Sudan government. They changed it and they put it back as a force. The South Sudanese, they should not have any right to talk. So, and we said, okay, if is that the reason we are fighting, is very clear. But why am I in the war and I'm very small? So one of the boys called Lual, like me, he was crying day and night. And he was trying to reach out to the Dr. John Garang as the leader, because Dr. Garang came to our military department trying to explain how people will attack their other centers. And from that time, actually, he was crying day and night. He could cry from morning to sunset. And he could drink water, and then when he's finished drinking water, he cry again. He could eat. When he finished eating, he cry again. So, and at night also the same thing. So Dr. Krang came out from his tukul and he said, who has a baby? Who brought a child in the war? So, and when he came out, you know, the military, the guard for the General Garang, trying to protect the boy not to reach out to Garang. And the boy ran immediately and grabbed Garang's leg. And Garang felt so sad. And he said, who brought this as such a little children here in the war? You know, so, and then he ordered immediately one of his junior general, and he said, go outside and mobilize those kind of this child here in the war and bring them into my headquarters. This is not what we are fighting for. What we are fighting for is for their future and the future of Sudan. And that's the generation we want them to live in a better life. So that's the time I felt, I found myself being mobilized back and brought to the headquarters of Garang, which is good enough. I found myself good there. And Garang opened up under tree school for us. It's still under military operation, under military front line. And the bombardment was still dropping, but at least we are in our school under trees. And Garang said, okay, now they're still under war, in the war zone, in the military front line.
Right.
We better to move them back a little bit. And we were moved back. And from that time we were moved back, one of the general, actually, because I was very active, I could clean anything, so I was told to do, and be good to the general, to the big guys. And the guy said, you're a very good boy. I want you to go to Uganda. And I said, okay, I'd love to do that. And then he said, would you go to school? And I said, yes, I would love to do that. And then he took me to school in Uganda. I went to Uganda. And from that time I arrived in Uganda, I stayed for a year or two, and I had my group, which went to refugees camp in Kenya. They were having the process of coming to the United States.
Okay.
And that was the time George W. Bush, your former president, he has given the opportunity to the Lost Boys. That's the time the name Lost Boys came from. We didn't know what was called Lost Boys for South Sudanese and Sudan and girls. So when I was in Uganda, I said, oh, I want to find my way. I want to join the group because I was there. And the same lease we came from Ethiopia, it is the same lease also was used in the refugees camp for the resettlement. And my name was there. So I found my way to Kakuma, and good enough, I got lucky, my name was there. And I said, wow, I want to do the process. And in Nairobi, I got my uncle. He went to Australia. Actually, he was a pastor, he was a priest. And I said, I want to go to stay with my uncle in Nairobi. So can my name be transferred? Your name can be transferred wherever you want to go for the resettlement, for you to do resettlement process from there. And my name was transferred to Nairobi. And from there, I started going to the UNHCR in Nairobi, and I was doing the process. And before the process, I was hunting for the scholarship to go to school in Nairobi. And I met the missionaries called George William from South Africa. He was actually working in South Sudan. And then I talked to him, and he gave me an appointment to come next year, to his office. When I went to his office, actually, he told me, we have been praying for God to show us one boy or a girl from South Sudan. And me and my wife, we have been praying. And we don't know it will be you or not, but we will give you opportunity. I said, give me the opportunity. I cannot promise, but God knows. So he put me in his school in Nairobi, and I was doing the process. I did not tell him actually the process I was doing, because he found me already, I was doing the process, and I felt I did not want to tell him. And from the time I've done my process with my friends, I felt, after a few years, I said, I don't need to leave to United States when this man and his wife, he had taken good care of me and they grow me up, and I leave to go to America and settle with a good life, and without him knowing. I need to be very honest. So, and the guy, my friend told me, no, you don't need to do that, because the guy, he has spent a lot of money on you, he will not be happy. I said, I better to say, even though it's not going to be happy, that's the truth. Because if I leave without saying, and then I'm guilty. I made a mistakes. So, and he said, my friend trying to calm me down, not to tell the truth. And I said, no, it can't work, And after a few days, I was given the ticket and the papers for a settlement in the United States. We are going to Virginia. Mm-hmm. I don't know where Virginia is here. I had it near Washington. So, and from that time, actually, I got my status. The flight will be like after 3 days. I went to George and I said, George, I have something to tell you. And before that, I had a dream that I want to set up the center in Sudan, a center for the vulnerable one. The center can care for others like the way I was cared for by George William and his family. And when I went back to George, George told me, yeah, that's good. It's up to you. It's your life, but it's good you have said. I really appreciate that. I know some other children, they could escape without telling whoever took care of them. But it is your life. You choose. When you go to America, you study. You get good life. You not get good house. You get nice car. You drive around. You eat nice food. Is that what you want? I said, I feel that's what I want. But in other part, I feel I want to go back to South Sudan. And he said, it's up to you. You leave. You go and decide. I said, okay. I went back to their house, and I was not actually in peace. For 2 days, I was not sleeping. I was not eating. And the next day, I took all my papers with the paper bags, plastic paper bag, and I went to UNHCR in Nairobi, and I said, I want to meet the officer concerned the resettlement for the flight. And the guy came back, he's an American guy, and he said, what do you want, James? I said, I have a serious issue to tell you. And he said, what is it? I said, I feel I have no call of going to America. And he said, what are you talking? I said, I want to go back to Sudan. And he said, are you crazy? I said, I'm not crazy, but that's the facts. That's how I feel. That's what I want. That's what my heart want to do. Because, I've been here in Nairobi under someone's responsibility, under someone care, under someone love, but I feel I need also to do something to other people's life. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to set up the orphanage center for the vulnerable children. Because when I left my home, I did not know where I would be, but someone took care of me. So I need to take care of others. And he said, oh man, this is what I've never had in my life of working with refugees. I work in Afghanistan, I work in many countries, but everyone wants to go to America around the world. But you are saying you don't want to go to America, and you got opportunity to go to America. You'll have good life. I said, with a good life, I want to go back. And here your papers, here your ticket, and I want to go back. And please, just let me go back. And he said, will you not come back again? I said, I will not come back. He said, this is something I've never had in my lifetime. I said, okay, you got it today. And then I went back to George in the same day I left. I cry a lot because it's a big loss I have done. It's a big decision I have done. And I went back to George immediately in Nairobi office in the same day, and I told George, I'm going to Sudan. Would you help me to go to Sudan? And he said, no, I can help you. You can come with us. He was doing the teachers training and pastoring trainings in South Sudan, in Sudan. And I said, okay, I can go there and have a look and then to see and find my way out within Sudan, because my heart want to do something. And he said, James, you will suffer. You've given up, you're going to America and you want to go to Sudan. You don't know Sudan, how it is. I said, I don't know, but I want to go. Excuse me. And he said, here the money, $100, you catch a bus, go to Uganda and then to Yei. And then I went all the way to his house in Yei, and I stayed there. I was working in his compound. I was driving the car. I was eating well. I was sleeping well still. He was still taking good care of me, like that small boy he was taking care of. And I said, George, I'm with the food, nice food I'm eating right here. And with a nice bed I sleep on. And with a nice car we drive around. It's not helping me. And he said, James, what do you want? I said, I want to leave your house. And he said, you will suffer. And people with a vision like what you have in your heart and in your mind, they don't even last for a long time. I said, I'd rather to go and die with my people, but I'm not comfortable here. And he said, why? I said, when you took good care of me, I appreciate, and I went to school. But what am I doing here in my life to the life of other people? I said, I want to set up the orphanage center, the vulnerable one, the people who are suffering, the people who face the same situation I was in before. And you are telling me to sit down here. I don't want to sit down. Please leave me. And George said, okay, God bless you and go with my blessing. And then I left his house and I went to my village, to Lual. And I start clearing the bush by myself. I went with a small tent. He gave me the tent. I put down the tent and the tree, and I live in that tent for 2 years on the tree. She knows, and she knows. They've been there. And I started mobilizing the children by myself. And actually, it's a call that you go and certain thing will happen. I didn't know what will happen. I didn't know who will help me. I didn't know who will help those children. I stood for them. But actually, I sat under the tree and I start mobilizing the children. I brought 153 children often under tree, teaching them by myself, and I set them down in 3 groups as a 3 classes under trees. One is 51 children under tree, another one 51, another one 51 as a classes under tree, and I start teaching them by myself. I ran there, I said ABCD, and I leave them singing ABCD, and then I ran another class, I say 1, 2, 3, and I ran another class, and read for them something different. And I did not have the books, I did not have the exercise, I did not have pencil, I did not have blackboard, but at least I was just singing for myself. It's like crazy person. People in the community were telling me, you are crazy. Is that what you came for to do here? To put the children under the tree and you have nothing? And I said, I pray and I believe people somewhere around this world will support what I'm doing. And I don't know when I will find someone, and I don't know that person, but God will bring someone into this children's life. And they said, okay. And then I start moving around, mobilizing the youth. I want to talk to the youth to tell them that, you look here, this is an organization. And it's an organization without money, no resources, and no one is supporting this organization. But we can do it by ourselves. And I went to the church, and I start telling the youth, come and help me to clear the bush. And I talked to the youth, and the youth, no one want to come. One morning, only one person turned up. From over 200 youth, local youth in the village there, only one person came up. And he said, I will stand with you, James. Whatever it will take. If it doesn't work, then fine. If it works, then it will be good for our people. I said, that's exactly what I want. And we start clearing the bush. Arcangelo, the head of our security right now there. And he started clearing the bush with me. After a couple of months, Arcangelo left. He went to Khartoum, and I still remain. And I still struggling. It happened. One of American organizations, woman, she joined another American charity organization, Christian organization, to tour in Sudan and moving around in Sudan and South Sudan. They want to see what to do. They want to see how American people could support and change the life of the Sudanese people. And then they went all around. They went to Bentiu, they went to another location, and they came back. They were actually leaving in a couple of days' time after my place as the final stop. And they came to my place, and they find me there struggling under the tree. And there were 28 American people. They shuttered the plane. And they came around finding me and said, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking care of these children. And he said, how do you take care of these children? I said, here, the way you have seen it. And one woman started crying. She started crying and said, how do you do this? Will it work? I said, I don't know, but you have seen. If you want to help, you can help. If you don't want to help, and then hear what you had and leave, is okay. And that woman said, I'm very sorry. And the next day, they said, she said, here is $5,000. And it's my first time ever in life to have more than $1,000 in my hand. And he said, what will you do with this money? I said, this money, I will build the local grasses building classroom. I will also bring more teachers to help me because I'm alone. And from there, we will look for the chalks and blackboard and all those kind. And she said, okay, do whatever you want. And then I'm going. I said, before you guys leave next day, I have the Darfurian refugees who were displaced from Darfur by Janjaweed and genocide, which was going on in Darfur, committed by the Sudan government against the Darfurian, And they said, where is the Darfur center refugees displaced, That was BOM, Voice of the Matters, and the organization taking care of the vulnerable right now. And I said, I know where they are. And I used to go to them and preach to them. I cycling, I walk, and I talk to Darfur Muslim and share the Bible with them. And I said, I know the way. We hired a small truck and we went there. When we went there, they could not believe it. The suffering people were facing, and the trees, they have been rained on, there's no medication, there's no water, there's no food, and they sit under trees. So, and then they are very sorry. They went, they bought some other medication, they came with them, and they helped the Darfurian, and they said, what about you? I said, no, we'll share. Whatever you brought, we share with them. And they said, and those Darfurian, those are the people the Sudan government used in many years ago. They mobilized them and armed them to come and raid our villages, to come and burn down our villages and kill our people, and abducting the children and women, and and take the people for the slavery to be workers for them, and they said those kind of stories. I said, no, God, if we are Christian and we are the people to love one another, then we better to forgive them and share with what we have, So, and they said, it's amazing what you're saying, but do whatever you want. So she left. With American groups, organization, we team up, and they came back to US, and I got her number. So I came to Nairobi, and I was following up that woman called Kimberly Smith, and I was trying to call her in America. I did not know time changing. I call in any minute I want to call. I said, this is what I have done with the $5,000 you gave me. I built the grasses, Tukul's houses for children and their classes. And now I have at least 4 teachers working with me. And he said, it's amazing, James. How did you do that? I said, I have done it, but if you want to come, you come and see. So she came back, and when she came, she started crying. And I said, this is what we are doing. And we went around together. We slept under trees together. And from that time, in 2006, Audrey Moore, right here, led the team, and she came with the team for the volunteer doctors and volunteer different kind of teams playing with the children, and they came to the area. And right now, as we speak, we have over 1,500 children in the centers. And the centers now, there are 3 centers, well equipped, build very nice accommodation for children, the clinics, healthcare center, and we have over 300 workers, staff, and it is amazing. This is what I dreamt for, of not coming to America. Mm-hmm. This is what I believe is the transformation the South Sudanese want. This is what we need. That's what my spirit has been hoping for, and it is indeed. When we were having only one center, we say they came back, those of Audrey and the American organization and Live Up the Vulnerable, and they are partnering with us, and they said, what else? What else do you want to see, James? Now your center has been set up. We have primary school to secondary school. We have a health centers sector right now. What do you want? I said, all this happened in Sudan. It did not happen only in my village. It happened everywhere in Sudan. This kind of marginalization, slavery, killing, and destruction, it did not happen only in my village. It happened also everywhere in Sudan. So let us extend to another village. And they said, it's not your tribe. It's not your place. I said, it doesn't matter. We are all Sudanese. We are all South Sudanese. And if we want to live together and care, we must also share what we have, because you share with us. You came all the way from America to share what your people has given voluntarily. So I want us to share. And he said, okay, where do you want us to go? I said, let us go to another place called Torid. And we plan the center there right now. with over 500 children. And then again, when we set up that center, when we brought in the children, the orphan children, they said again, what else do you want? I said, let us go to Nuba Mountain. Nuba Mountain is where, still after today, there's no peace, there's no any access of road, there's nothing, there's no any education system, the same things like what is happening in other places in South Sudan, and we build up the center there. And as the bombardment is still dropping, the children go to the classes. When the plane come dropping the bombs, they run to the bomb shelter holes, and they come out and they go to the classes. It is the only way to transform the next generation. We want this world to know that there are people also existing, and they could care for their own future, for their own country. This is what we are doing right now. And in that, to be very honest, I find it, what kept me back of not coming to America, I find it that it has really worked. And it has really changed the life of others. And that's the hope we have right now in South Sudan. Those children we educate them from primary to secondary school and to universities. With whatever little we get, whatever penny we get, we make sure it is used wisely. We make sure that we have invested in them in a very good manner, that they will reach to the certain level of education, because when they are educated, South Sudan is where almost 85% they are literate. They don't know how to read and write. They have never gone to school. And that's the only way to bring down the conflict in future. When we equip the generation with education, they will not be tracked in the war. They will be self-reliant. They will take care of themselves. They will make sure that the good governance has been placed also in place in future, in many years to come. Is because of that education. And the same centers we have built and we have equipped with a very good kind of the system of education. Even the government of South Sudan and the president himself, he has recognized that, and he has appreciated the people of the United States so very much, because that's the only hope we have. There's no any other good education like other school with a very good education like what we have in our orphanage centers. So, and not only the orphan, we also have the widows. Those their husband got killed in the war, and those their husband died in any kind of diseases, and we bring them in the centers, we employ them, we bring the uniform, the publics, and we bring the sewing machine, and then we tell them to do the uniform for the children, for the orphan, and we pay them, and after we train them with the sewing machine, they become tailors, we send them out to go and take care of themselves. It's a life transformation. It's a life saving. And we still receive, like Amana, the volunteer medical teams come every year and serve in community and with our children together. It is a very great things actually is happening there in South Sudan, and it's because of this organization called the Live Up the Vulnerable. Yeah, American charity institution called Live Up the Vulnerable. There are so many organizations in South Sudan, but to be very honest, I've been there. I know every kind of the village. I know every type of organization of whatever they are doing. But there's no any organization doing like what we are doing in South Sudan. I have seen many big, huge organizations going around with a lot of multi-million of dollars projects, but I'm not judging them, but that's the truth. This is what I know. It is what we feel. It is what we see. But there's nothing compared to what is happening, life-saving and transformation. And the future for the country is not just only food you give today, but give what someone will rely on by himself in future. So And these many organizations, some of them are doing very, very well. They are doing good things. They are building the healthcare center. They are, they are drilling boreholes. They are doing many other things. But most, they are not doing the right things. That's what is happening around the world. And actually, in the most affected countries around the world, there is no one actually seeing how the funds are being used. Yeah, but still, if people go directly to the people and find out exactly and work through indigenous people, we are the one led the work on the ground. I know every village. My people know every village. They know every type of the suffering the people are facing because they went through too. So they could make sure that they have done it right, because no one else could do it better than indigenous to their own people.
Okay. So that's a great overview of all you've done. Can we go back and talk
Sure.
about some specific things?
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned slavery. Tell me a little bit about the slave trains.
Well, the slave trade, as I said before, in Sudan and in South Sudan, my village, we are the bordering to the Darfur.
Slave train? Yeah.
Train?
Yeah.
Yeah, the slave train. We are bordering to Darfur and Sudan, and the northern South Sudan. You know, we are in the middle there. And when the Janjaweed or the equipped militia of Khartoum government comes, sometimes they come with a train, and in many years ago, and mobilize the people, the entire village. They push them into the train, and they drive off with the train. And when they reach in the village, in the bush, somewhere far away in the bush, they set that train into fire and burn everyone in the fire, in the train. Again, they come with the train and take all the children, all the women, all the youth, and take them to the north and go and sell them, to the farmers, so that they can work in the farm. They take them and sell them to the men, to the youth of Arab Muslim in the northern part, to be the one actually, to be their wives, whatever means they want. And and those women, young women of South Sudanese, black South Sudanese, they do not have right to say this is not right, because they are already under slavery, and they have no right to protect themselves. They have no power to protect themselves. They could not help themselves. So they find themselves in so many circumstances that they were not supposed to lead themselves in.
Right.
So, and most of them, they become the workers, domestic workers in their houses for the Sudan people in the northern part, and so many of them got killed every time, So then that slavery after now is not good. So many people, they are still facing those kind of consequences. Yeah. But most of the slavery, it happened in the past. Yes.
Okay. Now, when you were a child soldier, how were you treated? When were you fighting?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I went to the war, because as I said earlier, some of the commanders in the SPLA those days, they were trying by any means for them to be promoted to the top ranking. And they tried to mobilize the small children to be the one to go to the war and fight for them, so that the recognition is given to them. That is actually what happened to us, and that's what happened to me. I was in the war. I was carrying the gun like baby, but that was not from the top leadership, because the top leadership came and mobilized the small little guys, such as I was, and said, you should not bring the small children here. So you see, the small guys, the small junior officers general, trying to bring the child soldier to the army and use them to be the one to fight on their behalf, to be promoted and to be recognized into the big position. But the top leadership, including the President Salva Kiir himself, who was the second guy, they said, no, it cannot work. But they were still stealing the small children into the war. It was really bad.
Right.
It was really very bad. But that was the time, actually, the South Sudanese were really struggling. It was the right war to fight.
Okay.
It is a war for the freedom for the South Sudanese people. It was a war that it could give us identity of who we are, could give us the freedom, could give us the future of our people in South Sudan. You know, so we found ourselves in the war, and we said, okay, we found ourselves in the war, but our leaders knows why we are in the war.
Right.
And then we were removed back. I find it that the good treatment to the small kid was there from the top, but it was not there from the junior general.
Right.
That time.
Okay. What was your relationship with some of the other children that were in the military?
Well, it was good, but because being a child in the army and with the children, as a boys also, we face a lot of consequences because we were not trained how to use gun properly. We were not given a proper discipline to care for one another. You know, it was terrible. We were fighting one another. I remember one time, I was sitting under a tree as a corporal. I was a corporal there in the army, and one of my guy one of the boy of my group, he started cleaning his Kalashnikov, the machine gun, and he was cocking the gun, bullet in and bullet out. And then he told one of his friend, and he said, look into the barrel there inside. Do you see the bullet there? And the guy said, no. And he cocked it again, and he said, look, is it? Do you see the gun? And then the boy put his eyes, want to see the bullet. He shot the boy from one eye completely. This part of the head was blown off.
Wow.
And then he dropped the gun, and the boy fell down, the one he shot, and he cried, and he started crying. And I was sitting next, and I stood up. I said, what happened? I picked the gun first, and I removed the bullet, and I gave the gun to another person. And he started running. The boy who shot the guy dead, he started running. And then, people started running after him. And he was caught at night in the bush, and he was brought into the jail. So I did not know what happened to him when he was put in the jail. I don't know about anything there after that. So at least we went and we buried the guy, the young guy who got shot from his eyes.
Wow.
And so many things happened too. The same things. Many of us shot themselves. The guy put the gun in his mouth, and he started cocking it and trying to test it and cocking it, and he blow his head off. So it's quite terrible. It's so many things, big tragedies happen in our time in the military as a child soldier, because we were by ourselves. We were given a responsibility to be alone, and we have our own guns. Yeah. And the big guys, the big military guys, they were far in front line again. After we were mobilized, that was the time we were mobilized back. And from that time, when a lot of report went to the leader, to the Garang said, mobilize all the gun out from these boys. They will finish themselves. And that's the time the guns were mobilized out from our hand again. So that's what happened at that time.
Okay. How did you, so you escaped this by, the leader said, we need to get the children out of fighting, and we'll start educating them because they're the future of Sudan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And And so when you set up your first school and you had 150 orphans, have any of the orphans that you helped stayed on to help you help others?
Yes.
Okay, and how many orphans do you think you've helped so far?
Right after now, we have more than 1,500 children. Right now, we graduated some from the high school, and we graduated 2 from the secondary school, from university.
Wow.
And we have more than 10, for more than 13, 14 children are in universities now. Some they want to be nurses, some they want to be midwifery, some they want to be want to do the medical. They are doing medical trainings. They become doctors, medical doctors. They came out from that orphanage, and actually is amazing for that kind of work we are doing. And I could see is the real future we talk about for South Sudan.
Right.
Including the some way in heading so many things in South Sudan. They have no good proper background education because of the war so many people went through in so many years during youth time. They could not find the time to go to school. And there was no schools, proper school even. The Sudan government allocated in South Sudan for the South Sudanese children to attend. So they cannot be blamed on that. But right now, education system is highly needed in South Sudan. And education system, the best education system is like from the children we have now in our orphanage. And if you see, from nothing from under 3 to primary school, took them through primary school and took them through the secondary school, and they're in universities now. And some of them, they are graduated, 2 of them, they are graduated, they are working now, So this, and some of them, they become teachers in our school. And some of them, they become the community children teachers in the community school under trees. So if you go around where we are operating and in South Sudan, you could find at least one of our children doing something and helping the children also. Because one boy came and said to me one time, said next to me one time, and he started crying. And he graduated, he finished secondary school. And he said, and I said, why are you crying? He said, I have no word to express myself for what happened to us. I said, what is it? He said, I'm so very pleased and very happy. If it was not at this center, as an orphan as I am, I don't think I would have been who I am by now. And I said, man, we thank God for this great blessing here. And he said, what if you did not come back, you James? What if you did not come back and sit here? Where do you think, or where would I think I would have been right now? I said, I don't know, maybe it would have been different in his own way. He said, either I would have been in Khartoum to work there in the factory, or to be in the military when I've grown up, or I'll become a criminal somewhere, or maybe I would have not been alive. I don't know. But now, look, we are very clean, we are eating well, we got education. We could tell something which is not right, it is not right. We could know the history of the North America. We talk about the history of North America. We talk about the history of United States. So what a great thing. I said, we thank God. And we thank God for the people who stood with us and took the responsibility to make it possible. So when you said, do you see like they are helping you. It is a big change. It is amazing changing happenings there in South Sudan.
Okay. What is the relationship of your centers to the communities they're in?
Well, our centers is the only hope for the majority community we are basing in right now. It's the most hope in the people's mind. And many thousands of the children, we could not still reach them, the orphan children, because we are very limited. We do not have enough dormitories. We do not have enough funds. We do not have a lot of things that we could open up another center. We could see the children, people coming with a baby that the mother has just died of giving birth, and there's no proper hospital, to take care of the birth, during the birth stuff. So, and then the mother dies. Is very risk. The delivering is still a risk in South Sudan, and from there they bring them to us as an orphanage center to take care of that small innocent child, orphan, left behind in that movement. But we could not take them. We turn them away because we do not have capacity. So it is so very sad. And when we look back for the community, their eyes and their hope only on us, on our center, and they see our children become even better in the community in so many ways. And then actually we see we are the only hope. And again, with a very good cooperation we are doing, when we take the children, often most of them, the priority, we take the orphan first, and from the nearest community children where we locate the school, we could not close their eyes for them. Of course, we are let them come in and study in the morning, and then in the evening they go home and eat at home in their houses and sleep their houses. But at least most the orphans, they are the one in the dormitories, they are the one eating there the night meal. And that one, it brought also the very good relationship, because what we want is not just only taking care of the orphan, but also when they finish this school we are giving them and grow them up, the orphan in our centers, they go back and they are accepted in the community and they integrate in the community and become even leaders, and to be accepted. But if we are not doing that and we said only the orphan, there will be a conflict in future between the children we have trained very well and we equip them with a very good education. They could even be rejected from the community and they will not find a space. So we said, for us to talk about their future and care about the future, at least we have to do something for this community to have the connection with our orphan children. And in future, they could give them the opportunity to become leaders. And that's the way we could find them trapped in the community. And relationship is going on very well. They are the one even moving around our fence. If they find anyone touching the fence from the community, they start fighting those people by themselves and said, no, don't you know, don't you see what is happening in this compound? It is for all of us. Please keep away. And it brought us a very tight relationship with the community and with the government also. As I said earlier, the President Salpa himself accepted invitation I sent to him, and he came to the compound and he said, it is amazing. We have not done from 1970s, the first war, and we have not done also in 1983 up to now to set up an orphanage center like this in our country. This is the future we have been struggling for. And that's the top government. When he's recognized that, no one else around here couldn't violate that. And our children are safe, our properties are safe. We bring the food from overseas, from the neighboring countries, because the food problem in South Sudan is a huge major issue. There's no agriculture system, because when we got independent we celebrate and we enjoy, and we said, oh, this is what we have been looking for. This is what we fought for. This is what our people, our great and leaders fought for. But again, it happened that the confusion happened between our own people, the leaders, and they took gun against their own people, and the war is started. It fueled up more suffering for our people. That the people, when they are removed from the power, an example, you are minister today or the vice president, and you are told to step aside because of certain issues. You made it to be the problem. Why am I being removed? And it's not supposed to be like that. You want to stay there forever, And when you are removed, you make it to be the obstacle and the issue to take the gun and shoot the people, and the war break out. And that what has caused more problem and more suffering in South Sudan is because of the confusion happened to our own people, and especially in the leaders, And now it has produced more orphan children, and it has produced more widows. There's no one who doesn't know what happened in South Sudan. There's no one who doesn't know what happened and the suffering people are going through.
Right.
That it is us ourselves, the South Sudanese, who made it. So in that case, I see if the war continued in that way, many other generations in the middle year will suffer and face the consequences and will not have good education, So because when someone take the gun against the innocent, the suffering is not only for today, but it reflects back in many years to come. Because those children right here, they will not have opportunity to study. Like right now, where the war has been going on throughout from 2013, the education has not been going on. There's no even under 3 community school going on. So then the year is going day by day. People are aging day by day. Children are growing. When they become big and tall, because our people are very tall, they will not even accept to go to school and sit down there under the tree with the small children. But it's because of our own people who made it, because they were removed from the government. And when they were removed, the day they were removed, that's the day the war started. If it was not the time they were removed, why the war did not start in the time they were in the government? So meaning there's something wrong. Because if I'm removed the time I've been pushed aside, and that's the time the war started, meaning I'm the one who has a problem. I'm the one who started the war. And the time I was in the government, there was no war started. People were going on and the life was very smooth. So there's something wrong there. There's something wrong there.
So I like how you say that your communities are involved, or your centers are involved in the community, and the community has a sense of this
connection.
Connection with the center. And I like how you talked about the children that are not orphans are able to go to your schools, and so the identity of your centers kind of mirrors the identity of the community, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you find that refugees are hearing about your center and wanting to come to it? Do you know if any people that are in refugee camps in different places hear about the good work you're doing and try to get to where you are?
Yes, very many refugees. They are tired of the life being in refugees in other countries. And also, not only even in other countries, even within the South Sudan. There are certain big organizations who host so many people in their compound and make them to be refugees within the country.
Right.
Yeah, So those people even, they want to go out and they want to access the good education for their children and even the children themselves. They want to come. Many, when the January come and we want to move the classes from grade, you move the classes when they have done the year test, they go from class to class. Many people come and light up under the gate, by the gate. And many people sleep by the gate. Many, you could find so many people, 100 of the people with their children lying down by the gate. They want their children to come there.
Right.
And most of them, they are the one actually who escaped the refugees camp. They want to come back. Yeah. They want, and they don't want to come back and sit down with their children with no good education. They want to access that good education they had and they have seen it. You know, and they lie by the gate waiting for them to have opportunity. And then I come to them and I said, there's no opportunity. I'm very sorry. And it become actually, it become terrible for them to hear that news. But of course, I have to tell them the truth because there's no space.
Right.
So if there's space, we take one child and we take at least 3 or 4 orphans somewhere, and we take one child from the community, we take 2 or 3 orphans, and we bring them along together, at least. But I tell them there's no space. But they still lying up by the gate, and they sleep even by the gate, outside by the gate, outside at the gate, and they need help. And you know, and the government school, when we tell them go there, we say the community school is still our children. We have graduated from our school, from our secondary school. These are the children. We talk to them and we send them to the community school to go and teach in the area there. And anywhere we send our children as a teachers, volunteer teachers, the school actually fill up with the children. Yes, become overpopulated because the children want to access their education, and there's no where to go for education. The government trying to set up this government school, but they're still under trees, and because of the crisis in South Sudan, and the teachers are not there, the good teachers are not there, you know, it become a big problem. Yeah.
What do you need to continue being successful in your mission?
That's a very good question, and it's a big question. Yeah. What I need right now, if someone could hear me and say, this is what you have requested, I need more resources. I need money. It's to be good, to be straight into the point. I need money. If I could have the money right now, I will have another opportunity to take good care of these children and to continue giving them the health care and to continue to bring them enough food in the centers and bring more teachers there for them and continue with that kind of a spirit, saying that it is not just a year, we are continued. We are continued because we have the resources, and we could not even turn away all of them, the children. We could even bring in that orphans that been left behind outside there, and is moving from the village to the village, and is moving from house to house, and that orphan has been the one to be used as the workers in the community, you know, because when someone got his own kid and there's orphan in his compound, his house, he used that orphan as a worker. And it really hurt me. I feel so bad. I need to see that orphan given opportunity. And you know, people, human beings, people are people. They can do whatever they want. They put their children at the back there and make sure they are given good food. And that orphan is the one taking care of cattle, of the cows, of the goat of that person. He's become the workers. He's the one who goes to the far distance to fetch the water, you know, for that house. And she will be the one actually, they would try to merit her off quickly to get the wealth as cows from her, because she's offered, no one care about that. And they want their girls to remain, grow up, and that girls as an orphan will grow in another house as a woman, and she's very young and had to give birth later on, and she will die. So it really hurt me, and that's what I want. I want the resources, I want help.
Right.
And you'll never know if we have enough resources, and it will continue. We could even have another small center somewhere to serve more children, because if we bring all of them to the center, it will become like military barrack. You know, so
Right.
and it will not be appropriate actually for them to be so congested. So it would be better if I too have the resources
Sure.
to have another small center somewhere and bring in a little more children into our center while they're right now.
And how do people get resources to you?
We have American organization which is actually taking care of everything and count for everything we get here from United States and around the world. It's called Lift Up the Vulnerable.
Lift up the vulnerable?
Yes. So it's here in New York, is around everywhere in the United States.
Okay.
And Audrey Moore, she's the executive director for the Lift Up the Vulnerable.
Okay. Now, West Point trains the future leaders of America's Army, and many of these young leaders might be deployed to conflicts around the world, such as the one you were involved in. What is the most important thing you would tell cadets who will be the future Army officers regarding wars of this type, where children are forced into service and you know, a bunch of refugees and things like that?
Yeah, what I will tell the West Point and the cadet of the U.S. military base institution is that is the mission they are given by American government, and is the mission they have accepted themselves voluntarily to do. It's not about their salary; it's about what they want to see in future in this world, and to save other people around the world. American people, they are the one actually keeping the peace and order everywhere around the world. We know, I know personally, we see them everywhere, and that kind of opportunity the Americans cadet is doing right now, I see is a very bright future, and it's very great. And you'll never know if they could come to be in our country in South Sudan one time to have a such as the one you have trained from here. I would really appreciate to help and also to see the way forward for our people. Yeah, that's a very great thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to talk about today?
It's only appreciation to give you the West Point, the military base institution, that I'm very privileged and appreciating for having me. I thank Amanda for her and her husband for this opportunity, bringing us here and share with you these stories and pass these stories outside there in your history way of doing it. And I think that's it. And,
okay.
And I look forward next time to be here and visit and walk around.
Well, we're thrilled that you came in to share your story with us, and we hope you're very successful in the future, changing the lives of all these children.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.